All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the annual Property Seeker webinar. Thank you so much for joining today. We know there's a lot going on right now. My name is Serge. I lead the market research and CX team, and we're joined by one of the best researchers in the country, the one and only Fiona Wong. Now, it's been a big year in property, been a big year in property for me too. I've got two young kids and we've outgrown our little townhouse and we've been looking to buy a place with a bit more space. We've been looking and looking, not having much luck. Also, the issue of aligning buying and selling is a big challenge, which you're going to hear about today. Also, not easy going to inspections with two young kids. My 4-year-old daughter often likes to use the toilet at these inspections. It's not great, but at least we get to test the plumbing, I guess. Now, the reason I love the Property Seeker report is because it's such a great snapshot of the current market and identifies a lot of opportunities. And we're looking forward to taking you through the results today. I would like to begin, though, by acknowledging the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. So what's this session about? It's about AI. Now, not the AI that everyone's talking about, it's about audience insights. We have had some incredible results on REA in the last month, 12 million people visiting the platform. And on average, they spend 40 minutes on realestate.com.au. So they're big numbers and we can see what property seekers are doing on site. But this study goes a level deeper. We're exploring what consumers are thinking and feeling. Just want to give you a little more context about this study. It's the largest annual survey in relation to property in the country. Put it this way, we haven't found one that's bigger. We typically survey around 6,000 to 7,000 people each year, but this year we've doubled it and we've spoken to more than 13,000 Australians. So it's a good, robust sample size. For background, the study actually began back in 2011. Back then, it was a big 160-page report. Most people were looking to buy under $500,000, lucky buyers, and still a lot of people, they were still using newspapers or agency windows to find their homes. Times, they've definitely changed and expectations have evolved. And for context, today, this webinar, our focus is really on buyers and sellers. In terms of the agenda, we're going to be looking at trends and tactics. Fiona is going to be talking about some of the trends that we're seeing. And then I'm going to talk through some of the opportunities, maybe thought starters that can be implemented to make the most of the insights. What we're hoping is that you can take one or two ideas from this session that you can implement to get better results for yourselves and your clients. Now, in putting it together, we wanted to answer three main questions. The first is, what are the emerging trends in the home and the home buying process? Second one is a question we often get asked is, what's important to sellers right now? How do they find an agent? What information are they looking for? We'll share that. And we added a part to the questionnaire this year, which was more about listings. And so we'll talk about that and how we can get better results. I also wanted to point out this is an Australia-wide study, and things obviously might be different in your local market, but we also found there are a lot of similarities between states. And I know this is a webinar, but we did want to make this a little bit engaging. So there's a bit of participation. We're going to have some polls, some quizzes. Feel free to add comments in the chats as well if you find something interesting or surprising. And we'll have time for Q&A at the end. And if you do have any questions throughout the session, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end. And we've also got Luke Dorr joining us. Luke is one of our top senior account partners at REA. He's on hand to answer any technical or product-specific questions that might come up in this session. So in the spirit of keeping this engaging and a bit of participation, we're going to start with a quick poll. Would love to get your thoughts on how are you feeling about the Australian property market? Are you feeling positive, neutral, negative? Chuck your vote in, and then we'll see how the vibe of the webinar is going. We'll give you maybe another 5 seconds. Great. Fee, let's close it. Awesome. So the results are in. We've got about 45% of people on the webinar feeling positive and 26 feeling negative, a bit of neutrality as well. So here's what we found in our survey. We found that 3 in 5 are feeling negative. It's been a tough year, cost of living, interest rate rises, housing crisis. You can see by some of these recent headlines, it's not great news out there. Housing affordability is now at the worst level on record. So the sentiment's clear. Buying or renting right now feels hard. I'm going to hear from some of these people now.
Try and be really positive about it, because otherwise you just kind of sink down and never try anything. So I think it's definitely harder, but it doesn't mean it's impossible.
Yeah, it's been a long slog, but yeah, to sum it all up, if I was to give advice to other people who are watching real estate, just be persistent, keep going to those auctions.
Yeah, in terms of if someone says, "Oh, look, I'm waiting until we have a better position," well, you'll always be waiting. Just make it work. Because if you don't make it work, you'll never be happy. Like you'll never be happy. You'll never be content.
But there is some good news. So although it has been hard, 1 in 3 believe that their finances are set to improve in the coming year. And we've also seen that reflected in the number of saves and shares on our site. They're going up, and listings are up 10% year on year. The latest news from our economist is that listings reached their highest September volume since 2015. So after a few scary headlines, buyers, they're definitely taking a keep moving approach where they just got to jump in and make it work.
So what do consumers want, and how can we help them to keep moving? Well, let's have a look at their home buying journey and what they're looking for within their home. As Serge mentioned, it's not an easy process to buy a home. So what we see here is that 3 in 5 of those who are looking to buy are currently feeling stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, or nervous. And those with less experience or those with a smaller budget are even more likely to be feeling these negative emotions. But we know that Australians love property, and our aspirations for owning property continues to remain strong. So what we're doing, or what Australians are doing, is keeping their dreams alive by adapting in different ways. And one of those ways is by slowing down. So in 2022, we saw that the average length of the buy journey from the start, where they're looking and exploring whether it's a good time to buy, whether it's the right time to get into the market, to actually making an offer and having that offer accepted, it took around 23 weeks. And then in 2023, we saw that increase by 11 weeks to 34 weeks. And this year, we've seen this increase even more to almost a year, so at 44 weeks. And 1 in 10 sellers actually took more than 2 years. And we also saw that 1 in 10 Australians told us that they actually originally intended to buy or to build a residential property, but they ended up dropping out halfway through that journey. We've also seen days on market has increased in terms of the median days on market for properties for sale in September. This year was 34 days, whereas in last year it was 27 days. And that's the highest it's been for September since 2020. So where we previously saw people taking action faster due to the fear of missing out, the worry that they're going to miss out on their dream home or the ability to get onto the market, what we're actually seeing is that they're slowing down because of the fear of better options. So they're worried that there's going to be better options out there that they haven't fully researched for, or there's going to be more coming to the market and they'll regret what they've bought. In terms of what people are looking for within their home, we've actually seen that hasn't changed very much in terms of the number of bedrooms, the natural light, the garage, number of bathrooms. Those continue to be the top criteria that buyers are looking at. Now I want to do a quick quiz. What do you think is the average number of critical property features that buyers are considering when they're purchasing a home? Is it 4? Is it 6? Is it 8? Or is it 10? Can I get you to type your answer into the chat? Seeing a few responses come through, so a few 4, 6, 8. Oh. Excellent. Well, it looks like the most popular response has been a 6 or an 8. Well, the answer is 6. So on average, buyers have 6 critical criteria that they're looking for when they're purchasing a home. But 1 in 5 buyers actually have more than 10 criteria. And for upsizers, it's even more. In terms of this 1 in 3, so a third of them have more than 10 criteria. Let me share a quick story with you. So I was actually in the market to buy a property, or my first property, a few years ago, and I had a bit of an interesting experience. A few of the agents that I spoke to kept suggesting to me properties that probably would appeal to a first-home buyer and one that's of Chinese or Asian background. So they asked me about my budget, they asked me about which location I wanted to live in, they asked me about the number of bedrooms I wanted, and possibly they asked me whether I wanted something that was newly built or whether I was happy to buy an established property and kind of do some maintenance or make some changes over time. But what they didn't really spend time to understand was that I was planning to live with my family, I was planning to live with my parents in particular, my sister and her kids and her husband would be visiting us every second month from Sydney. And some of the things that they highlighted to me about the property features or about the community, they specifically said, oh, this would appeal to a Chinese people. This is what you would like. Actually, personally, it didn't appeal to me very much. So they made assumptions about my criteria, about what I wanted, but without actually understanding what I truly wanted. So when we're speaking to consumers or speaking to customers, do you know what the most important criteria are for them? And you do need to know them because you need to make sure that you're speaking to them in the right way and also in the most relevant way. For example, for boomers, they're more likely to be looking for en-suites. They're more likely to be looking for places with solar, places with an outdoor entertainment area, but also a place with a view. So knowing our consumers and what they want as individuals is really important. That said, we are also seeing that buyers are having to compromise to keep their property dream alive. 82% of those who said they're looking to buy a property said that they're planning to have to make some kind of compromise on their home purchase, whether that's buying a smaller house or even buying an apartment instead of a standalone house or a townhouse, or having to choose a less desirable suburb. We're seeing that buyers are having to cast their net wider in terms of searches that do look at multiple suburbs on our website. The average number of suburbs that they're looking at is around 7. We're also seeing growth in inquiries per listings for outer city areas. That's have grown, whereas in inquiries per listings for inner city areas where it's more expensive, that has started to soften. And some buyers are having to compromise more than others. I think we all know that it is, as a first home buyer, it can be tough to get into the market. There's a lot of process and difficulties for them, but it's also tough for upsizers as well. They have more needs, they've got more criteria, there's more things or more boxes that they need to fill. So they're thinking about their options and they're thinking alternatives because the next step up for them is even bigger. And flexibility is really, really important for them. As I mentioned, so one size doesn't fit all. What we're seeing is that different buyers have different needs, but it also means that the way or the tactics they're using to keep moving, to keep their dream alive, is different. So for first-home buyers, they're keeping it simple because they just want to get out of the rental market. So they've got a more simplified checklist or simplified must-have criteria, and they're moving faster through the buying journey compared to the other buyers. Upsizers, they're dreaming of a space for their family. 43% are looking for a property that has an outdoor entertainment area. They have a longer list of needs and they're less likely to compromise, and they're also trying to stretch their budget so they don't have to compromise. Downsizers, they're taking their time and they're really looking for their dream home as well. They're looking for a place that has low maintenance. They're looking for something smaller, so smaller property. And 1 in 4, so 26%, want a place that have a nice view. Premium buyers. Premium buyers are seeking life upgrades. So once again, they've got a longer must-have list of property features. They're looking for luxury, comfort, and premium amenities. I'll actually go through in a bit more detail in terms of what their criteria are on the next slide. And for investors, they're looking for potential diamonds. So they're considering all property types, they're considering locations, all options. What they really want is something that's going to help them with their financial goals and anything that fits their wealth creation bill. So as I mentioned, premium buyers do have a slightly different criteria checklist to the other buyers. They're more likely to want things like luxury and comfort, as I mentioned, such as walk-in wardrobes, butler's pantry or the second pantry, second kitchen. They're also looking at premium amenities like swimming pools, spas, and they're looking for design, modern living, and sustainability, such as skylights and EV charging. This year, we also asked consumers about some additional new features or design trends. And what we're seeing is that buyers are interested in homes that give them wellness, smartness, but also that feeling of being like in a retreat. So for example, what you see here is that 38% of buyers are interested or find it will be appealing to have a wellness room within their home. So it would be like a dedicated space or a dedicated room where they can focus on their mental well-being, whether it's for doing some yoga, doing some light reading, or just to rest. 29% said that they would like to have a sauna at home. They'll find that appealing. We've also seen in terms of searches on our website, so keyword searches using the keyword saunas has increased over the last 2 years. It's increased 34% from the end of 2020 to the start of this year. So having flexibility within the home is really important for buyers. We know that 1 in 2 Australians actually use rooms within their home for a purpose other than its original purpose or intention. So they're using spaces in areas like the garage or outdoor spaces. For example, turning the garage into maybe a study, a playroom, or an extra bedroom, or even installing an infrared sauna in there so they can have a bit of me time.
Thanks, Fee. I would love a sauna at my place. Great for health and muscle recovery. In terms of the opportunities or thought starters here, as buyers slow down, we think there's a really big opportunity to be using REA data to prioritize those that are buy ready. So what we're seeing is that they're more cautious right now. So you might be getting inquiries from people that maybe aren't motivated or ready to transact. The main call out from us is you've got inquiry scores that are there for you in Ignite right now, and the scores can be really powerful. It takes into account the stage of the buyer journey and also engagement with listings. We saw buyers, they're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, anxious in the current market. And it's not a surprise that we're seeing interest in buyers agents increase too. You can see that in the trend in Google searches, it's going up. And people, they're using buyers agents because they believe they help them find the properties, they know what to look out for, and they can help them negotiate. Now, I saw a comment in the chat before saying agents work for the sellers, which is definitely true, but I think there's an opportunity here too to do both, because the opportunity lies within helping buyers with more guidance and support. It's about building the longer term relationships, maybe recommending other properties that even if it's with another agency or giving extra insights. I think the best agents, they're probably already doing that, and it's definitely a strong need right now. And an interesting one that we found was, we all put in our chat how many critical features. We heard that it's more than 6 critical features, but right now, those features, they aren't being showcased in the listing and potentially missing buyers. What we found is that only 22% of listings have more than 5 features. So you've got your photos, you've got your summary, and then there's probably only a few features that are being listed at the moment. So here's an example that we found. 14% of homes in Australia have a pool, but only 6% of listings include a pool feature. And so we just wanted to kind of flag there's a risk that buyers scroll through or they've got alerts set up and they might miss these important features. So adding these features is a way for the listing to stand out, and buyers won't compromise on some of these, especially many upsizers and premium buyers.
Now, so what do consumers want from agents?
We would make it clear to them, look, we've been 6-7 times now, and it's been unsuccessful. I want you to help me come across. If you think it's my financials, just let us know.
So it's not always about money either. Sometimes it's peace of mind.
We do not have multiple properties. This is the greatest asset we own, the greatest asset. And so it was someone who understood that.
Since it's not just sort of lots of money, that sort of it's sort of the hopes and dreams and a family home.
I think the bottom line is the transparency element and the sense of trust that they can that they give you, one, like with all these elements, right?
The process being transparent, we knew where we stood the entire time. You know, we knew what we were purchasing, we knew how much we were purchasing it for, we knew who we were purchasing it from. It just gave us confidence more than anything.
So we heard from the video just now, consumers want transparency, they want assurance, they want the ability to trust agents, and they also want your experience and expertise as well. And another emerging consumer trend that we're seeing is authenticity. So consumers are seeking authenticity. They're pushing back on the picture perfect and they're pulling back the curtains. So in a recent campaign by Burger King, what they did was they used photos of mums eating burgers after giving birth to babies. And this ad became quite popular because of its authentic portrayal of real life. Another example where consumers are seeking authenticity is through podcasts. So more than a third of Australians currently listen to podcasts on a regular basis. And what really sets podcasts apart from traditional media is the authenticity. They often feel like it's unscripted, they're natural conversations. And also 40% of Australian podcast listeners are also tuning into podcasts that have a video component to it. So being able to watch, the host's reaction or the interactions between the hosts, but make it a more personal and a more real experience. So that combination really appeals to people who are looking for a more honest and an unfiltered content. And what does that mean to us in real estate? Well, consumers are seeking authenticity from the people they interact with as well. So that includes agents, it includes sales, and also within the experiences. So they want authentic experiences as well. Another quick poll. What do you think is the most desired trait that consumers want in agents? I'm just going to pull up the poll and so everyone can put in their response. Just give everyone another 5 seconds. I'm seeing a lot of responses come in, which is looking good. Let me stop it and I'll share the results. So 79% of us think that honesty is what consumers want the most, and then followed by problem solving and effectiveness going head to head. Let me close this. And you are correct. What consumers want the most and what they really want is honesty. They want us to give it to them straight, even when it's bad news. So it's not sugarcoating. It's not telling them all the great things or the great results that we're going to get. It's about being transparent and giving them all the facts so that they can manage their expectations. It's also important to remember that sellers have more than just seller needs. As we talked about earlier, they're going through multiple journeys, they're navigating those through the processes as well. We know that 2 in 3 sellers are also looking to buy. So apart from the seller needs, they also have buying needs. They're looking for that next property to purchase or that next home to live in. And while we normally assume or expect that people will sell first before they buy, because it's pretty normal that we want to know how much they will be able to afford before we can buy our property, or what property can we actually afford. But what we're seeing is that those aged between 25 to 49, they're equally likely to be looking to buy before they sell. So they want to settle down. They want to have their family settled in a new place without having to move multiple times, without having to go into a rental, without having to move into like a family member's or a relative's home as an interim. We've talked a lot about buyers having different needs, but apart from their needs being different, we've also seen their experiences differ as well. So as you can see from here, first home buyers are less likely to have received a follow-up from a real estate agent after an inspection, whereas in upsizers or premium buyers were more likely to have been contacted. We also see that first-time sellers, they spend more time researching and looking around and preparing, but also evaluating and deciding which agent to go with and how to prepare or market their property. they're also doing more online research in terms of they're looking at similar listings, they're looking at different property panels, they're looking at social media. So don't forget these digital touch points in your relationships. Don't just focus on that face-to-face experience or that relationship. It's important to be building your impressions for your online profiles. So every day we get around or more than 75,000 views to agent profiles on our website. And we've seen an 18% increase in visits to agent profiles since last year. So in terms of what do you need to include in your online profile, or what do people want to see? So what comes out on top in terms of what sellers want to see is your local market expertise. This comes out above the number of properties that you've sold, the number of current listings, and that what tells us is that they really want the confidence that you'll be able to help them with their property because you've got that local market expertise. So making sure that you're demonstrating that experience or that expertise through whether it's giving them more information in videos or in your introductions, that's going to be really important. As you saw on an earlier slide, previous experience is also important, especially for the more experienced sellers. But previous experience isn't just about whether they've sold for you or whether your agency also manages their investment property. What we're seeing is that sellers are also using their experience with you as a renter or as a buyer as well. So they're seeing you at inspections or open houses and at other property events. We've even heard or even had consumers tell us that they might even go mystery shopping as a buyer to see how you're selling other properties, whether you're being proactive, whether what are some of the things that you're highlighting to them, whether you are building good relationships with the people that are coming through. Because that experience as a buyer really demonstrates to them and gives them confidence on how you would do with their property when they're ready to sell. And we'll also see that 1 in 4 are looking at similar listings or your experience in the area. So making sure that you're moving any of your sold listings, even if it was a sold off market, to make sure you're putting it as a sold. And there's also opportunities for our teams within the business to work closer together. So we've talked about previous experience being quite important, but when we look at those who said that they're planning to sell an investment property, 1 in 3 said that they wouldn't use the agency that's currently managing their property. So for leasing team and the sales team could work closer together to really deliver that consistent, seamless experience and make sure that we're keeping ourselves and our agency top of mind when this property owner becomes a seller.
Thanks, Fee, and also Andrew and Beck, appreciate the comments in the chat. We had a lot of data before we put this webinar together, so I'm glad it's resonating and it's hitting the mark with some of you out there. Now, we saw that millennials in particular, they're more likely to buy first and then sell later, and it's a tough one because it's a tight rental market out there. That's obviously not helping, and there's a big hassle moving twice, especially if you've got kids. Can't think of anything worse. So it comes back to supporting sellers with their buying too. I want to play a quick video here from a top agent here in Melbourne. It's Michelle Stevens in Carrum Downs, where she has a video on her profile from a selling client that also talks about how she was not only able to help with selling, but also buying.
Michelle, it's not just about real estate and selling your house. My husband and I spent an extensive period of time trying to find our next dream home, and that's when Michelle really came into play. So I originally contacted her over 12 months ago to get a bit of a guide of where our current house was sitting within the market, and instantly from the time I met her, I knew that there was something different about her. She was authentic, and I instantly clicked with her. Literally like she is my friend trying to help me find my dream house.
It's a great video, and check out Michelle's profile. It's great. I think this is also where top agents, they can help by explaining the different options. So bridging loans, lease back, rentals, settlement periods. Flexibility is really a big theme that we're seeing in the data. And this is where agents can really help and go above and beyond for their clients. And there's one other thing we want to draw your attention to. There's a feature on Ignite that can help too. It's seller lead enrichment. It's great for prioritization. These are buyers that are likely looking to sell. So if we can help these consumers with their buying, they'll be in a better position to sell. And it's Michelle Stevens. Profiles. So people, they're searching for agents online, especially first-time sellers. Like I always say, the agent profile is prime real estate. Right now, an average profile on REA has 51% completeness rate. So we saw this in other research that we did earlier this year. There's a big opportunity to stand out with videos, reviews, community involvement, all these other things. We know visits and inquiries, they're growing because sellers want to do their research. They often haven't transacted in around 11 years. So they want to feel confident that they're using someone who is a local expert in the market. All these profile attributes help build confidence. And one phrase I love, real estate is still a contact sport. And we heard earlier, young buyers, they're less likely to be followed up after an inspection. But we just want to kind of call out that following up doesn't have to always be a call, it can be an SMS or email too. In fact, younger buyers prefer an email over a call.
Now onto the campaign. So we know that consumers' expectations are rising, and we also know that more informed buyers lead to greater confidence. So this section, we're going to talk about how to go from being gatekeepers to being enablers. So this isn't new, but we do need to talk about this. So price is the most important information or feature on a listing for buyers. It instills confidence for them to buy, and when it's not available, it actually negatively affects the consideration of a property. It pushes it down onto the bottom of the list.
If I've got, 8 that have the price and 2 that don't have the price, like, I'm probably going to prioritize just looking at those 8. But, some weeks you only have 2 to look at and you've got 4 without the price listed. So then I'm going to make a decision about which of those agents to contact.
As we heard just now, so consumers would prioritize properties that do have a price on their listings, whereas those that don't, they push it further down to the list or potentially don't even shortlist it. So it is important to make sure that price is included.
If I've got, 8 that have the price.
It was so important that I thought we needed to listen to it twice. But there's also a lot of other information that is important to them as well, to buyers as well, and that will also give them confidence to make a bid or to take action and to keep moving. We also see that consumers are wanting more in terms of, apart from asking them what information do they currently look at in a listing, we ask them, what else would you like to see? And what we see is that they want everything. They want much more information. They want to know the sales history. They want to know how much it was sold in the past. They want to know when it was built. They want to have building and pest report. They want to know public transport. And even they want to know how many people viewed the property, how many people attended the inspections or attended the auctions, etc. And even was it sold through an auction or was it a private sale? So buyers are craving information more and more. Buyers at different life stages are going to have different information needs. So we see here is that first-time buyers, they're looking for public transport. They're looking at maps. School zones are also important. We know that they drive buying patterns, especially for upsizes and for house buyers. And for apartment buyers, they're looking at public transport. So making sure that you're highlighting these aspects of interest to the different buyers will increase how well you resonate with these target buyers, or the property will resonate with the target buyers. Women play a significant role, if not an equal role, in the financial decisions. So 85% of women said that they are part of the financial decision making within their relationship. And we also see that women do have a greater information needs in terms of they're even more likely to be looking at price, photo, address, floor plans, property features more than men. So making sure that, once again, it's really about making sure we're providing as much information as possible is going to be really crucial to fulfilling the greater information needs for women and to help them make an informed choice. Another consideration or another aspect that people are looking at when they're finding a home is crime rates. So it's all about safety. That's something that we all want. We want to feel safe in our homes. We want to feel safe in our community. We want to feel safe in our neighbourhood. So we see nearly 90% said that they consider the crime rates when they're considering a home. And nearly 80% said that they're also looking at the risk of natural hazards within the area or within the home. And also they're looking at convenience in terms of what are the amenities that are within walking distance from the property. Videos are also another really good part of listings that will help deliver better results. So 15% of buyers said that having videos, it's important to them when they're looking at property listings. And 76% of them said that having these videos actually increase their confidence to buy or to bid or to take actions. From our internal data, we also see that listings that do have videos do achieve more views and also more inquiries as well. So we've talked about sellers forming their impressions of agents at open for inspections. But what we also see is that 1 in 3 buyers said that they've had a negative experience at an open home. And that includes things like the state of the property in terms of being dirty, being messy, but also to the crowdedness or whether they're feeling uncomfortable due to the number of people at the inspections with them. So it's not only about being proactive in selling and promoting the home, but it's also about creating a welcoming, a well-organized and a comfortable environment for them. And that will increase your chances of leaving a positive impressions on these potential sellers.
Thanks, Fee. So sort of in terms of the opportunities, information and transparency really is still the big trend. And so we need to continue to highlight the importance of adding more info on these listings. I think of the 3 Ps: price, photos, property features. And want to draw your attention to, we've got an awesome feature in Ignite. It's called Listing Strength Check, where every Prem Plus listing is given a health score and some recommendations on how you can improve that score. So the national average, I've been told, is about 64%. So check out your listings in Ignite and see how you can improve. In terms of states, I'm told Tasmania is the highest with a 74% average. We've seen security discussed, and crime is obviously a hot topic right now. Now, we're not suggesting to put in crime rates in listings, but we think there's an opportunity to include security and alarm features. Only 3% of buy listings mention an alarm system, compared to 17% of new homes. Again, it's just another way of adding a bit more value to the listing. As they say, if you've got it, flaunt it. Inspections, we saw earlier that 13% of buyers, they've attended an open home that was too crowded. So we wanted to make sure that you're aware of inspections data in Ignite as well. So buyers, they can add inspections to their calendars on realestate.com.au. They'll also get updates if there's a change to the open home time. And then you can see that data on the back end. So not only can you see it, you can share it with vendors and you can use it to help with demand forecasting. I've seen a few examples in Melbourne where an agent has scheduled 2 inspections on the same day to minimize crowdedness, especially for that first inspection for really attractive properties. And videos. Videos, what we're seeing is as people get closer to purchase, they're more likely to watch the videos. Like we discussed earlier, buyers, they want more authentic videos and they want more information. Now, sometimes videos aren't used because they might be seen as expensive to produce, but there are people that are breaking the mold. We wanted to feature Jason Borlo. He's a buyer's agent, and he's become a social media hit with his authentic style and his videos that have a lot of information. So we're going to play it now.
This is what $2.1 million buys you in Sydney. Let's check it out. Alrighty, legends, this house is located in Annandale, a suburb 5 k's west of the CBD. This double-storey workers' cottage is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1-car home that sits on 132 square meters of land. We start upstairs in bedroom 1 here with this large balcony area. Bedroom 2, check out the timber cladding around the windows, old school. Back down we go. Now, what I do like about this house is the location. Young Street is a very good street in Annandale. What I don't love is the light restrictions you have because of the conjoined walls on both sides. However, if you got the cash, it has an east-west facing orientation, so with a smart design, you could get great use out of it. Check out this self-contained studio above the garage. Old school bathroom, definitely needs a little bit of work, but it is a good space. 3-lane access for parking. And there you have it. That's what $2.1 million buys you in Sydney.
Sort of chat. That's Jason Borlo on Instagram. Now, we've done some follow-up interviews with a few buyers around what's important for them in a video, and it's kind of preliminary at this stage, but Jason does kind of cover some of these. So talks about having a walkthrough, including rooms that might be excluded. So sometimes the garage or the pantry, a voiceover with additional information that might not be in the summary, including subtitles. So it makes it easy to be watched in public or on the train. And of course, including the price as well. So the main takeaways from this session is that buyers, they're more cautious right now. They're having to be more flexible. And so agents also have to be a bit more flexible too, not just helping sellers, but also supporting in buyer needs as well. In terms of what sellers want, it's authentic, real, and local experts. And we're seeing that consumer expectations, they're rising and transparency is key. More informed buyers lead to confidence and moving. In terms of opportunities, I want to highlight like the 3 big ones for me: profile completeness. There's a huge opportunity right now to stand out by adding more information, videos, and reviews to your REA profile. This step's really important, especially since first-time sellers heavily rely on online when choosing an agent. Ignite data can really help right now too. So take advantage of the inquiry scores, the listing health checks, buy ready especially. Prioritizing buyers who are ready to transact will help you focus your efforts on the most promising leads. And then showcasing those critical property features as well. So make sure that listings include the essential features that buyers are looking for. So the example that we used today was the one around pools. 14% of homes in Australia have a pool, but only 6% of listings mention it. So if you got it, flaunt it, helps match the right property to the right buyer. Now, we hope this session has sparked a few ideas. We've covered it. You know, what we've covered today is really just the beginning, because we want you to take it away and turn these insights into actions. So please reflect on your local market, your clients, your listings. And the question we've got is, you know, what steps can you take to provide flexibility, authenticity, and transparency that will help you stand out in your market? And on that note, we're going to go to Q&A. So if you've got some questions, we'll give you a little bit of time now to add a question. Otherwise, we will just ask them away. And there are also some questions that were asked before this session. So the first question, we might bring on Luke Dorr. Luke, there was a question around how are inquiry scores calculated?
Thanks, Serge. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, look, it's a good one. So the inquiry score is a really advantageous position for an agent to come to a conversation with a buyer with, because purely they can get some background on where that buyer is at before they actually open up the dialogue. So I know that a lot of the agents I deal with see this really valuably. To answer the question, we will score that buyer inquirer or who that person is based on what their behavior is on our website. So we can get that information on a number of ways. It could be, you know, what sort of information they've given us when they log in as a logged in user, but it could also be based on what their rituals are, what their routines are, what sort of rhythm they're in when they actually hit the website, because clearly we can track the sort of behavior that people have, which some people find a little bit creepy, but from this perspective, it can be really advantageous. So to put it in layman's terms, if you know you're the sort of buyer with your young family that you're on the website every day, you're asking for notifications to be pushed through to you. When you receive those notifications, you click on some properties but not on others. You might send an inquiry to 2 or 3 agents, and those 2 or 3 agents have properties that are very similar to the budget you have or the area you're looking in. Then we might determine that you are a high intent buyer who is genuinely at the pointy end of wanting to make that transaction. Whereas if, you know, Fiona or myself are the sort of people who are just kicking the tires and we're not necessarily engaging with agents, we're not looking at the suburb data reports, we're not performing those sorts of things that would indicate that we're high intent, then we might be a lower score. So yeah, really, really crucial data. It's a good question that someone asked because it's good to understand it. And I know that agents will shift their tact for the conversation that they have based on those scores alone. So yeah, really valuable.
Thanks, Luke. We had a question before the webinar asking around regional and rural, what we're seeing there. Fee, do you want to answer that one?
Sure. So for regional buyers, we see that they're even more specific compared to metro buyers in terms of they have more key criteria. So on average, regional buyers have 7 key criteria when they're searching for property, and a quarter of them, so 1 in 4, have more than 10 must-haves. Their top criteria that tend to be actually quite consistent or similar to metro buyers, things like, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, of course, the garage. But what really stands out for regional buyers is that their focus is also on solar. So solar energy or solar water, that actually made it into the top 3 for regional buyers. And they also place extra importance on features like, so compared to metro buyers, they're putting more importance on the garage and the solar, as I mentioned, water tank, but also walk-in wardrobes and fireplaces. And in terms of listings, we see that they want more details want more details compared to metro buyers as well. They're keen to know things like the year that the property was built, building and pest reports, how many people were interested, and also one thing that they're more interested in is the fire zones as well.
Thanks, Fee. A question's come through. We didn't talk about it, but firstly, Vicky, thank you for all the comments in the chat as well. Glad you like the data. Luke, the question is, can you explain Audience Maximizer and how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. To do it in a few seconds is a nice little challenge for me too, Serge. Thank you. But the easiest way that I've found to explain it is to ask the question of the person who's listening or who wrote the question in the chat. Have you ever been shopping for a product online before? And then a week later or 2 weeks later, that same product finds you when you're on a completely different website. And most people have had that experience with a holiday or a car or a watch, whatever it might be. So we can take that same logic and that same theory and apply it to property. Now, the difference with what we do with properties is that it's like it's on steroids, because really what we're doing is we can anticipate the sorts of buyers and the sorts of sellers who want to see that property, again, based on what their previous behavior has been. So with the holiday or the car or the watch example, it is the same product that the consumer is seeing. But we know that when you as an agent list your property online, you have the ability to reach literally millions of people who potentially have looked at very similar homes. And we reach those people before they even have a chance to actually start their search. So they're having their breakfast in the morning, they might be flicking through the newspaper or whatever it might be, or they pick up their phone and they're looking through Facebook, and then all of a sudden they see a property that is extremely similar to the ones that they have been engaging with. We can send your property to those people to try and entice them to click through, make an inquiry, come to an inspection. And as we know, more inquiries, more numbers at inspections means greater competition. Greater competition means a higher sale price.
Thanks, Luke. So I just had there's another question that's come through from Beck. The presence of video on the listing. Are your results the same for sale properties as well as rentals? Any data on rental properties and videos? Luke, I don't know if you've seen, I haven't seen any data on that. To be honest, one of the things I've seen with rentals is obviously you want more information, but even just starting with the floor plan, I think there's a lot of rentals that don't have a floor plan. So I think floor plan would be great. A video would obviously be good as well. Luke, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, my only thoughts are that it's definitely market specific. So I know that in a lot of markets throughout Australia at the moment, we're seeing a lot of high demand from tenants for rental properties, which seeing some massive numbers for properties being leased. So if we're looking at video as purely the opportunity to try and increase the volume of applications, then maybe in the current climate, it's not as necessary. But definitely with the sales listings, I know that it is an incredibly highly engaged with part of the platform. Photos are number one. And then I think from what I've seen, videos are, and I'm just talking anecdotally here, videos are number two in terms of what gets engaged with on the listing. So they definitely serve their purpose. And if there is budget within a marketing schedule to put them on a listing, my advice to agents is to always encourage your vendors to do it where possible.
Absolutely. There was a question around what is FOBO. We mentioned it before. Just to clarify, FOBO is fear of better options. So in the past, it was fear of missing out and created this urgency. Maybe prices were going up, and so people were like, we have to get it now. But we are seeing as buyers that they're kind of slowing down, and they're thinking maybe there might be better options next week when the new listings come out. So there's definitely that sentiment that we're seeing in this data.